So hello everybody. Some of you probably know me. I'm Emma Caroon. And I'll sort of introduce myself properly in a second. Me and Cass are gonna lead a couple of sessions. So today's session and then one next week. I'm hoping that's correct. Which is kind of going through some of the basics of research community management. We call it Research Community Management 101. Cass, the next slide, please. Thank you. And we're coming from the RCM Cooperative, which is a cooperative that we've started and had running about a year now. Um, it's been founded out of our experience of working together as a team of community managers, where we were working at the Alan Turing Institute. Many of us have now left there, and we wanted to remain and keep a team of community managers together. So this is why we started the cooperative, to do the same sort of work that we have been doing to support research communities and data science research communities. And yeah, Cass, do you want to introduce yourself? And then I'm blabbering this morning, I feel.
It's kind of early still. I think we're fine. So yeah, my name's Cass. My pronouns are
Oh,
she, her. I have, so I'm a SSI fellow this year, but I've been around OLS, SSI for many, many years, and we're so pleased to be able to support you all in this way with this kind of formalized security management, community management training. And this is the a kind of we've been through a few iterations of this training, and it changes every time. So very, very happy to have your feedback as well about what works for you today, what you'd like more of, less of, all of that kind of stuff. Hand
thanks,
back.
Cass. As I said, I'm Emma. I am sort of with one foot in the RCM Cooperative and one foot still in the Alan Turing Institute. Still doing a bit of research, sort of qualitative research there, projects, and then working with Cass in the cooperative. Our other founder of the cooperative is Malvika, which is all I should have said. I'm an SSI fellow from 2021. Malvika also one, so we're a group that are very in with the SSI Fellows group. And so we've also got other people supporting us as well. And this is the idea of the cooperative: is if you kind of want to work in this way, come and speak to us, because we're looking to support other people to come and work with us, because it's going to be a real workers cooperative. So working together and sort of building something together. So also Ali, who is also working with me at the Turing, but also putting one foot in the cooperative as well. Danny, who you'll probably see around OLS as well. He's in that kind of sphere. And then obviously Sarah, who's here today as well, is also working with us. So you've met her as well. Right, next slide, Cass. So what we're trying to do really is to help people build particularly sustainable research communities, so keeping them going. So we're working with community groups, so with organisations that want to build communities, with communities that are already going, and we're helping them to develop and refine their capacity, so their infrastructure, their people, and really we want to see that the work they're doing in these communities is equitable. So we definitely have like an EDI lens to all of the work that we do. It's resilient, so we build it to last. We build in processes that are going to be sustainable for the community, and we also build in collaboration as well. And really, there, all of those things are about taking this kind of open, inclusive approach to the work that we do in the cooperative. Next one, Cass. So this has been built, as I said, from our experience of working in research communities. These are just some of the communities that we have kind of worked in, and we've said they're communities we have managed and supported. So this isn't necessarily informal community management roles. It actually, most of our careers have been actually working as researchers and just working in different communities to do with our research topics and our disciplines. So I'm sure you all are doing this kind of work. It is something that we often do as a voluntary thing, and we're sort of trying to move this towards being a much more formal part of people's roles. And also, if you want to do it as your actual job, formal title as well, that's something that we would like to see happen. Next one. So what we're going to do, I've done the welcome introduction bit. Cass is going to take over and introduce what RCM is, and then I'm going to go into more specifics about community management skills, and then we're going to do an activity on a Miro board for you to look at your skills and the skills in your community. And then we're going to have a bit of next steps and questions at the end. I think we will have a little bit more time. So we'll have the activity, you can really dig into it. So if we have a bit of extra time, we can kind of dig into that a bit further, probably spend a bit more time doing that. Right, over to Cass now. Will you stop yabbering on?
Okay, thank you. Um, so the extra time is great because we are, as a young organization, we're still using a free version of Miro. So we're going to ask you to like join our organization in order to access the Framapad. It doesn't beholden you to anything. So we might have a few minutes of kind of, sorry, not for the Framapad, for Miro. We might have a few minutes of like making sure everyone can get access and stuff like that, which will be useful. Okay. So, what is research community management? Perhaps because we're so generous with time, we could have a go, people have a go at putting what you think kind of a definition of community management might be in the chat or hands. Would anyone like to? It's a kind of an intuitive thing that probably a lot of people are doing. Also, Cat. Hello, Cat. Sama, we played at Collaborations Workshop. What do you think community management is?
I think it's kind of maintaining momentum towards some collective, whatever goal or interest. So just rallying people, energizing them, kind of stimulating discussion or just keeping in contact, keeping things moving so it doesn't stagnate. That's what comes to mind when I think of community management, or one aspect
Yeah.
at least, yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So there's a kind of a almost a project management side of that, as in keeping things moving, but also like a person side of that, keeping people enthusiastic and excited and stuff like that. Is that
Yeah.
another cat as well? Have we got double cats on the call? Who knows? Has anyone else got anything different to that you kind of experienced or have felt community management to be? Perhaps in addition or sideways?
Will it also include infrastructure, for example, like maintaining infrastructure can be tools or like the space that people use?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so infrastructure can be like comms channels, but it can also be kind of workspaces to enable the collaboration. Lovely, thank you for both of those. And that already kind of illustrates the broadness of this work, which is a wonderful space to be, but it can also mean that you have to collaborate, which is great. It's not a bad thing at all. So our goals for all of this work is to learn about RCM roles. So RCM, I'll always abbreviate to Research Community Management to RCM, talk about the skills and knowledge and behaviors that we kind of try to cultivate in ourselves and in our communities. And invite you to think a bit quite strategically about your community. So what you want your community to do or achieve, and then how you need to structure it in order to meet that goal. So a community structured one way will only be able to achieve certain things, whereas a different structure, you can do more and exciting things. And of course, you can transition between structures, but it's worth kind of in the same way as like open science or many activities, it's worth putting some front loading into your thinking about what you want your community to achieve and why, and then how you need to build it in order to kind of maximize the potential of that happening. So a lot of this, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it is in this paper, this preprint that is in the slides and a QR code. No one wants a QR code when you're on a computer, so perhaps Emma, if you could, I don't think this link is in the Framapad, but maybe you could put it in the Framapad in the chat. And this is sort of, it may never get more than a preprint, and that's absolutely fine, because all we needed was a DOI to point people to the work. But this has been kind of distilled out of Malvika and Emma and the rest of us at the Turing team out of our experience. Oops. So going back to what an RCM is, our definition is that we foster collaborative environments where diverse communities can access the socio-technical infrastructure and participatory processes they need to actively engage and gain recognition and build shared agency over their work. So that's a whole lot of words, but we can perhaps break it down with some real examples. So a collaborative environment is exactly like we've got here, right? We've got multiple people that are coming to work together in ways. So normally or often a training can just be you sitting quietly and listening to a person. There's not so much collaboration there, but there is still like a person delivering the training or the experience, and you're invited to participate in that. Collaboration can be more than that, which is why we do things like Framer pads and we ask you to comment in chat and things like that. So we are, in most of the work that we do, we're trying to nudge our communities into more collaboration with each other, more sharing with each other. So that's what we kind of think of as a collaborative environment. The socio-technical infrastructure bit is one of my favorite words because everyone goes, when I write it in grants, people are like, oh, yes, that is a thing. So with most of our researchers, they understand that there needs to be technical infrastructure, like you need a data repository or you need a tool, a piece of equipment, hardware or software in order to do a thing. But the socio-technical infrastructure is everything else that you need around that to make it work. So if it's a piece of hardware, I'm thinking about like the magnets that I used to do brain imaging research with. You also need policies around who gets to use that. You need guidance on how to use it safely. You need agreements on scheduling. So there's no point just putting a magnet or a piece of software or something in there. You need a whole load of pieces around it. And those kinds of things are often not overlooked, but no one is writing a grant that says we're going to spend £3 million writing a policy on how to use a piece of hardware, right? That's not the kind of things that is emphasized, but they're absolutely essential to getting these things to work. Participatory processes is, again, like we've been doing here today, we have given you spaces where you can participate. So we've got the Zoom chat, we've got the Framer pad, we've asked you to ask questions and do things like that. If we didn't build these kind of mechanisms for you to participate, then it would be hard for you to engage. So the RCM's job is to make sure that there are methods to engage for people and think about this broadly in terms of what people need and things like this. Moving on to the more, those are kind of quite well received and understood aspects of this work. But the flavor that we bring to it is that we really prioritize like building active engagement. So we want you all to allow yourself to be a part of this rather than just a passive recipients. We really want you to shape this and feel like this is your space. This kind of active engagement across different levels, you know, maybe you are going to run a workshop for someone after this session, or maybe you decide to share a link with your colleagues. All of these kind of active roles that you play in this collaborative space build the idea that this is yours, right? If this is yours, this kind of idea of agency, then there's a higher chance that what we're building suits not only you, but other people. So we make the space and we offer it to you to use in the way that you think is fit. The kind of side benefit of that is that if you have agency over it, you feel it's yours, then you might be more encouraged to take ownership over it. So not only will you build a space that's better for you, but you'll also feel like it's your space and therefore it's something that you want to care for and kind of continue to involve. And then the gain recognition is because this is work that you are doing here in this space and in all of the spaces that we hold. So we think that you should be recognized and rewarded for it. So we're not going to write a paper out of this today, but we are going to, in every space that we create, do our best to make sure that people get credit for their contributions, which is why we say things like, we'll at least give you an emoji, right? We'll at least show that we're grateful, but also we do things like making sure that we use all contributors and things like that. I see a comment from Flick. Shall I read that out loud, Flick, or do you want to say something? We can definitely have chat. Oh, lots of reactions to it. Flick, do you want to say that out loud? I'm dyslexic and can't read.
No worries,
I can
sure.
read.
Basically, the part you were saying about building shared agency, kind of, and that coming from sort of the collaboration and sort of the participation, even kind of on, as I guess you might see it as like low level, as just sharing a link to people that might have missed it because they're not kind of dialed into those like discussions, or just connecting people who you're like, oh yeah, you need to speak to so and so because they're doing similar things, or they have exactly the same kind of wavelength as you, and they know some cool people as well. Um, I I felt good about doing stuff like that, but I didn't necessarily realize until you said it just now that actually that made me feel more sort of cemented into this community, and kind of like I felt positive and good, like, yay, I'm doing the thing. This is great. But it's that shared agency and that sense of belonging that was also kind of increasing. And yeah, so thank you very much. That just kind of gave me a wee like breakthrough moment there.
Great. Slide 10. And we, I mean, what a gorgeous example, and not only an example of like how valuable this stuff is, but as in valuable for, the effectiveness of the work and the belonging and all of these things. It's like, this is our thing that we're creating together. But also the fact that you were doing these things, but you didn't know that that was a thing until we kind of named it, right? So our experience of as community managers, as Emma said, like we're all, researchers, and then suddenly you find yourself being the person, and folks might recognize this, find yourself being the person that organizes the event or does that job of connecting people. And in many cases, this comes like naturally as people that we want to facilitate others. Like I make the point that I was an okay researcher, but I'm much better at helping other people do their great research. Like I got very bored of the brain area I was studying after a few years. But I love if I can help you do this, great. And equally, hopefully, for you for your communities. So what we're trying to do is give you that kind of language and like little kind of frameworks to formalize your thinking of this. And now you know this thing of shared agency. We build shared agency. You can be more intentional about how you build that in other spaces as well. Lovely. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. Let's do lots of that. So after we've done all these things with these jargony words and we know we're building agency and things, what we kind of bring to these spaces is our experience as researchers. There are community managers, research community managers who haven't got PhDs. It's not necessarily a requisite, but generally you do. It's valuable to have an amount of experience of kind of the system that we're working in. We also, our projects are kind of data science first and also open science first. So we bring that technical understanding of those methods and that workspace. And we try to position ourselves at the interface of the community, like the people that we're facilitating, and leadership. So some project leaders are very interested to know what their community, what their researchers want and need, because they understand that this is a wonderful way for people to work. But sometimes we have to do more work of influencing leadership to listen to the community, hear what the community is saying, resource that work, and sort of help them understand the value of doing that. So we are kind of the mouth of the community, And that's a really important like trust role, you know. So it's important that your community trusts you, and it's important that your leadership trusts you in order to be the conduit between those. I was talking to someone recently. Oh yes, it's a new RCM. She's come from a legal background, no specific academic research background, and she said, "Oh yeah, that's I was the student rep, right, as in her undergraduate degree. If you're the sort of person that was the student rep because you knew you needed to be that voice and oh look, lots of nodding. Oh wait, hands up, student reps. Yeah. Look, if you want to be that voice and you are happy to be in that position where you're kind of translating that information, then this is a good one for you. That was a new one for me, Emma. I hadn't made that connection for us. Um, Anything more that folks want to kind of unpack about all of those spaces? I think it's sort of quite intuitive. Feel free to like if you want to raise a point a few minutes later after we've gone forward, I'm very happy to go backwards. Sometimes things need to percolate. So this first bit is like the most detail, all of this stuff, and then we get into a bit more activities and things. So kind of bear with me while I tell you everything that we know. Um, there again with like this is intuitive, but let's add some formal language to it. Any community needs to have a purpose and is useful if that purpose is explicit to at least someone, if not everyone. So it's like we all know why we're here today. And, you know, we can think of ourselves as a mini community today. We're here to learn or do something. If you don't know why you're in a space, then it's difficult to know how to engage, what resources you'll need, what infrastructure you'll need. So we really emphasize like understanding the purpose of a community and awareness that that purpose can change, and that purpose should, we believe, should be kind of built with the community. You know, you should do something that the community need. Broadly, this purpose can kind of fall into one of two camps. So one is that it's a market tool, and this is kind of what you see more in industry, that a community is established to create a customer base, kind of feel a connection to the brand. Like Sephora just closed down their community. I'm not a Sephora person, but like I am this person. This is my identity. I have a belonging to stuff. And in this kind of market model, it's more about brand loyalty, keep you coming back. So in this kind of market purpose space, the community consumes the brand, like have more of this, and you also advocate for it. So you'll tell your friends about how wonderful this thing is. The other side is more of a collaborative ecosystem kind of shape. So what we try to do in these communities is emphasize that our purpose here is to solve specific problems or innovate together. We want to do this together because doing things together brings more diversity of perspectives, more robust results, and things like this. So it's like the rising tide that lifts all boats. So if we solve problems together and celebrate each other's successes together, then we'll be able to do more together. So this is where collaboration and openness is really important. And what we're building as community managers is this platform for co-creation. So we hold the space for you to create with each other. We give each other feedback and exchange. So in these spaces, the community has this agency around the offering. So in like a market brand, you probably have very limited scope into what the, for example, Sephora community looks like. But in this collaborative ecosystem, we want you to design it because of this agency thing. And to be clear, I think I have got an example of how this applies in a Turing way. It's often both, but they are kind of different spaces. Um, Emma, can I ask you to keep an eye on chat and speak up if something that you think needs wants to be raised in? I don't want to sit here like trying to read like this. I'm going, but I love it, isn't it? So as a market tool, we're trying to, in marketing speak, trying to funnel people into a specific action. And that action is often like buying a thing. So we have like a lot of people at the top of this funnel that we're trying to raise awareness about our community. I'll keep it like marketing speak for now, but then I'll frame it into like research communities. But we want a lot of people to be aware about our community. So this is advertising and comms. Then we try and nudge them towards thinking about taking an action. Like, oh yeah, I think I could need some new makeup, and then driving them into the purpose. So marketing is all about moving people through these stages of engagement from first time they hear about the brand into actually buying something. And a useful kind of, or the way I remember these things is like, you build it and they will come. We assume that if we do the marketing and we do it well enough, that people will find our product and they'll come towards buying it. As an example of this in the kind of the open science space, you've maybe heard of the Centre for Open Science and Brian Nosek, who is the lead of that. I'm not sure if his formal title, executive CEO or something. And when he talks about OSF, at least this was a few years ago, the Open Science Framework, his kind of process around culture change was a bit more of a market funnel. So first he wanted to build the OSF infrastructure, make it possible for people to use this space to do collaborative version controlled document management. Then he wanted to make it easy, and then he wanted to make it normative. So using the community to kind of shuffle more people towards using the tool, sort of make it normative, make it something that everyone does, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's by putting like the infrastructure first, the technical tool first, the community kind of loses its kind of primacy in building the space and the tools. Our kind of counterpoint on this, which I first heard Kirsty Whitaker talk about in like 2020, and it's kind of stuck with me, is that we put community at the bottom of everything that we do. So I'm sure when when Centre for Open Science were building OSF, they were listening to the community and responding to a need. But the fact that community didn't stay as the most important thing around the development of this tool means that there's a less of a mechanism to ensure that their voices and priorities are like considered all the way through the development. So we put community at the bottom of everything. We want folks to listen to what the community's needs and priorities are and think about how we can facilitate their growth up into a leadership role and take on responsibility to continue to shape the way this tool or whatever you're doing, continuing to engage as like the key thing to everything. So rather than build it and they will come, we talk about building it with them, building something with your community. So our version of this triangle is something that we call the mountain of engagement. This came out of a Mozilla leadership thing, and this is as I met through OLS, and since it's become like a really important framing for all the work I do, even 6 years later. So this is, if you remember nothing, then think of this. What we want as a community manager is to build opportunities for people to take on responsibility in their community. So more agency, more empowered, more ownership. Not that we're trying to give work to other people, palm it off on other people, and not in a kind of, oh, now you're in charge of this community and that's your responsibility forever way, but in a way that recognizes that we need kind of turnover in our leadership so it continues to reflect changing interests, and also recognizes the fact that many of our communities involve volunteers who cannot always volunteer the same amount of effort all the time. So rather than nudging people towards buying a thing, we are nudging people towards taking responsibility in small ways as they engage. So we we want people to know about our community. We want them to, we look for signals and make pathways for them to do something, to engage. Then we make pathways for them to contribute something. So that could be as little as sharing something on Slack. Then we want to make ways for them to kind of repeat contributions, sustained contributions, and then sharing within the community, networking, and then ultimately leadership. So, and this is how we make it sustainable and resilient. The spotlighting and stuff changed on the Zoom for a second then. I was like, oh no, everyone, I'm talking to myself. It's all gone. Everyone's still there? Thank you. Thanks so much. No, it's all good. Sorry. Like, trust the process. Let me just okay, couple more slides until we can have a bit of a breath and maybe come back to any of the chat comments and stuff. So how these two things play out in the Turing Way. The Turing Way is a handbook, like an online book around open, ethical, collaborative data science processes. I've probably not got the exact wording right there. But it's more than just an online book. It's a place to convene people that care about these things, and a place for people to kind of spawn their own activities and participate in these like community processes. So the book is like one part of it, but actually that's much more work happens around the edges. So the Turing Way, we do think about it in terms of both of these things. It is a market tool and it is a collaborative ecosystem. So the market tool is we want people to advocate for the brand of open science, right? We want them to hear about Turing Way and open, reproducible, ethical practices in the top of this market funnel bit, and then we want to start them like considering using these things, and then we want them to start practicing. So our call to action there, our market funnel, is actually driving people into action in their research practice. In the collaborative ecosystem approach, we also are building spaces for people to do tricky things. So that tricky thing could be developing a best practice on some research workflow or writing a chapter together. Or we also do things like if there's a call for evidence from some government activity, we have created a space where people are used to working together and creating outputs together, and we've normalized all of the kind of the processes involved in that, and they can respond to things. They can collaborate quickly and straightforwardly because we've built a space where people know how to collaborate, and we're rewarding and recognizing them for their contributions. So I think here, just emphasizing that we think communities are a really, really powerful thing for solving the kind of the complex existential crises of research. And we want to bring you together to solve the problems that matter to you at the time and do it in a way that kind of benefits many people. So that's the end of that massive spiel. We next considering these things about like a market tool and a collaborative ecosystem and how this kind of framing plays out, we can have like a few 5 or more minutes having a bit of a write and think about our own communities, and maybe we can feedback about that as well.
Intro bit. We are going to focus now on the skills for community management. So it's the skills that community managers kind of need to have, but I will put a little bit of an kind of caveat on that. We can't be unicorns. We try to be, but we can't have all the skills. So it's maybe the skills that you might need in your community to do all of the work. So in your team of people in your community. And really also like talking about the responsibilities of community manager, which Cass has really touched on already with the like what is research community management. So next one, Cass, please. So this lady with lots of arms is doing everything. So it's very much what I've just said, the unicorn role, which obviously is a bit of a fiction. But I think we feel that this image does encapsulate what community managers do. We are juggling the plates. We are keeping everything going. We are hands in everything, kind of trying to kind of keep everything going, trying to make sure everyone knows everything. So if we have a look in a bit more detail about the things that community managers do. So this is more about the tasks that we do. So definitely, Cass already touched on ensuring shared understanding. So that might involve things like publishing community documents, building roadmaps with the community, facilitating sharing in the community through different communication channels. Obviously, linked to that is things like facilitating stakeholder engagement and collaboration. So that might be doing stakeholder mapping, engagement strategies, speaking to people individually, running events, that sort of thing. We can also be quite technical people within communities. I know we're talking as SSI fellows here, so we're all kind of software data science kind of communities, so we often bring those skills. But it might also be domain expertise that a community manager could bring. And it could also be open research practices, could be the sort of technical side as well. And then other tasks that we're doing, so we're co-creating, maintaining, communicating things. So we're facilitating conversations, we're creating these opportunities for people to meet. So that could be online, it could be in like Slack workspaces. We're like prompting people to have conversations there. We're scaffolding, so providing documents and spaces and templates to scaffold these conversations and communications as well within the community. We're also amplifying and championing the community. So we advocate for people in the community, we advocate for the community itself. I think one of the interesting things about being a community manager is that you might be working in a community that actually isn't your passion, it isn't your subject area. And I actually really like that. I like the idea of that you are the I can't remember what do I usually say, Cass? Custodian? It's not the word. I can't think of my normal word that I use. The caretaker. You are the caretaker of the community. You are the person that is keeping the community on its track, on its vision, its shared vision. So it doesn't have to be your vision. I think this is what's really great about community management, because we are enablers of that community. So it's the community vision that matters. That's what we're keeping them on track, keeping them on the vision that they have decided, or understanding if that vision has changed. And actually, we need to work with the community to change the vision, change the shared goals, something like that. So yeah, being that caretaker of the community, I think, is a real interesting aspect of it. Often we are the passion person as well, but I like that idea that we're the caretakers of the community. That's kind of sits nicely with me. We also champion people, and also we're often people that are often hidden in communities sometimes, and we can I really like pushing people up. I think that's part of our role, is to encourage other people to champion the community, other people to communicate about the community. So it doesn't always have to be us. We don't have to be a super outgoing person as a community manager. We can push people into that kind of more outward facing role. We can be the enabler in the sort of space. I think I missed the first one, which was embedding open and inclusive and reproducible ideas. So that's kind of a particular flavor that we like, because we think that really bolsters communities. It really well, some people in the waiting room. There we go. That helps to bring the community together, to make the community awareness grow. If you make everything more open, it really is a benefit to the community. Next one, because I'm yabbering on. Let's keep going. So one of the things that we have always found really hard when trying to talk about what community managers do, because it is this kind of like often seen as this unicorn kind of role, is to actually have like a slogan. And actually one of our colleagues, I think it was Vicky Helen, it was you, was it? Oh, okay, Cass is owning it, but I think it was Vicky. So,
Vicky aligned with it. Like it's all about the vibes.
oh, okay.
Yeah. She
Oh,
was a promoter.
right. Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to point out Vicky to Mamuna, because Vicky actually used to work with us at Turing in our community management team. She actually now is working as, I think, I would say community manager, but I think she's actually a program manager in Cancer Research UK. So I feel like, Mamuna, you should get in contact with Vicky Helen, because she is an amazing community sort of builder, and she's in charge of like community groups within Cancer Research UK. So she would be a really good person for you to get in contact with. But this whole like vibes and visibility is the whole thing with community management. So creating this shared understanding, creating this, I suppose I want to go back to culture. I don't really like the word research culture, really. I think we use it too much, but creating the culture of the community, the feel of the community, the way that the community works together. So hopefully positively, but that's what we're kind of aiming at. So that's what we're doing. But creating visibility as well. So this is about making it open. So making everything you do open, and communicating about that. So it can be completely openly, it can be within the community if it's kind of a closed community for particular research purposes. Right, next one, because I can yabber on forever. And yeah, what we're doing, I think we've talked about this a lot, at sitting at this interface of the different people within the community. So it can be that you are working with the individuals in the community. It can be you're working with groups. There might be subgroups within the community. It might be other groups outside the community. It might be that you're working across all of the community, but really what we are is this person who is, we often call it the glue work. We're doing this work where we're bringing everything together. We're ensuring the community is being maintained and run and kept going. And that is the real essence of the job of a community manager, sort of keeping the community healthy, keeping it maintained. Next one. So let's dig into this a little bit more. And part of the work that we did at the Turing was, and with the paper that we've shown you, is that we developed this skills framework. What we defined is these like 5 different areas that we think that if you want to do community management work, these are the skills, or actually the competencies is the proper word, really. These are the competencies that you need. What we did is we actually made 2 of them core, because we think that these are the real skills that as a community manager, these are really the ones that you have and you're also responsible for within your community. So these 2 are communications, so making everything discoverable, making it understandable, also engagement as well. So that again, making your community accessible, everything you do, making it an inclusive community. And then the other ones there, we've called them peripheral because they do often land as part of your job, but we don't work individually. Usually we work as part of a team. So it might be that you're working with a project manager, program manager, with a research software engineers in your group, with the leaders of the group, something like that. So in terms of accountability, that's really quite a lot of project management, governance of the community, the technical expertise, which I've kind of talked about as well. So that's something that we can take on, and also strategic development of the community. So that's definitely work that you would do with the leadership, with sort of moving through the development of the governance of the community. Next one, let's dig into these a little bit more. So this is quite hard to see. We have put the link to the slides. So it might be that you want to go and look at the slides here. But these are some examples of the different kind of skills that go with these different ones. So I'll just go through them briefly. I'm not going to read all of these out because we'll be here forever. But so yes, I forgot about the Miro. Yeah, that's exactly where you need to go. So communications. So this can be about understanding and developing community documentation. It can be about curating these documents as well. It can be, having skills on different communication platforms, understanding how, like we're here in Zoom today, understanding how to use Zoom, understanding how to use different types of shared documents, those sorts of things. Also, like this morning I was writing lots of social media posts because me and Cass are going to run some event in the next couple of days. So I was like starting to build up our social media posts for that. So lots of communication work is often and varied communication work. So we often work, as I said, well, we do work in research and data science groups. So the work that the researchers and the data scientists do is extremely technical. So part of our work as a community management can be translating that into non-technical documentation for other people in the community to understand, because we often work in these interdisciplinary communities. And that is an incredibly important role as a community manager, to make sure people fully understand what is going on. And that is a real skill, actually, being able to take that technical writing and actually change it into non-technical reports or documents. And then let's go over the other ones. So engagement. So that can be like doing onboarding in your community. So developing documents to do that. Sharing, like we're doing today, sharing knowledge, skills and training, running community events, providing spaces for co-working, things like that. So up to, running huge events, big conferences and things like that. So it can be very variable, the engagement you do. It can be individual conversations all the way up to these really big conferences. So getting experience of doing these different levels of engagement is really good if you want to sort of develop into a sort of more formal community management role. And then the other ones, the blue ones, we've got strategic development. So that can be things like I was talking earlier about the COVID lab that I worked in. So very much part of my job was this horizon scanning, because it was very much we were changing our purpose within the lab continually on whatever was happening at that particular moment, because it was like a changing situation. So the horizon scanning, because I was going to so many different meetings and the leaders couldn't go to all these meetings because they were just busy, professor academic people. So I was like going there, looking out, being a bit of a lurker actually in these different meetings, not saying very much, but listening and doing the horizon scanning. So that was a really sort of important role in that particular community that I was working with there. But it can be things like advocating as well for particular positions within the community. So Cass was saying about sometimes we're in the situation where the community wants a certain thing, the leadership wants something else. So we can become a bit of a community advocate to the leadership and kind of making sure we speak out for the community. So having this kind of dealing with different types of people, I think, is a real skill within the community management. So being comfortable dealing with those kind of leader position people and also the community as a whole. I think I've talked a lot about technical expertise anyway, so that can range from open research, things like knowing about different licenses, version control tools, data practices, data management, that can often be involved. Doing training, so Cass and I do lots of training around GitHub and tools like that, because they're the ones that we use in our workflows. Things like we often create lots of websites and things like that. So the technical skills really depend on the community that you're working with. And then I think I've already talked about kind of accountability is kind of project management, those sorts of running the project type things, reporting, impact development, impact framework development, stuff like that. Right, I think I've yabbered on enough. Oh yeah, so this is in here to sort of highlight that the roles within research community management are very varied, and all our colleagues that we've worked with previously in our Turing team and the cooperative, we all have different backgrounds. Like generally, we've all had some sort of research background. As Cass said, not everyone has a PhD. People have worked in research. People have worked in things like project management roles and within research, within other types of organizations. And I think I love this thing that you said about being the student rep, like putting your hand up. Like I can remember that my career has been very squiggly. So I was a researcher, and actually an archaeologist to begin with as a researcher. Or research scientist really, because I did a lot of wet lab kind of work, lots of field work. So I was a very practical kind of archaeologist. And then I actually, in that, I did a lot of event organizing, actually. I organized conferences. I was always a person like, I'll organize that conference, that's fine. Or, be in charge of the journal club. So I was always like putting my hand up to do stuff, student rep type person. And then I went off into teaching for a bit, which I think has been really good for developing my skills for a community manager, because dealing with children, I mean, that's amazing. Dealing with school leaders also is a real skill. So that's really helped me, I think, with communicating and that sort of thing. But yeah, we all have these varied careers. I do think community management is a really good career for actually becoming a leader in an organization. The way that you have to learn to communicate, deal with so many different types of people, be this real kind of advocate, negotiator, understand a lot of the strategy that goes on in research development. It puts you in places that a lot of researchers, so if you become a postdoc, you don't get in the same room as someone who becomes a research community manager. You know, you often go to leadership meetings, you go to all these more high level meetings. And actually, for me, I think it has really helped me develop and become confident as a research leader. And I really see it's a really good kind of transition role, because you get this like understanding of the operational side of research, but also you're still in the research side. So I myself have found that very beneficial for my career, being this kind of in both sides and seeing both sides of the research. So yeah, lots of varied careers. Where can you draw from the community? So as I said, like it appears to be this unicorn role that you have to know all the skills, but you really don't. Like I was saying, that you can actually work as a community manager in a domain that you knew nothing about. And you can go in there with your skills as a community builder, and you can work with the people. You use the knowledge of the people, the skills of the people in that community to build, you know, all to work with them, enable them in the community. So don't ever think that you have to be the domain expert in the room, because you really don't. You know, you can just go in there and you can be the advocate, you can be the empowerer in that community, enabler in the community, and you should draw on their other skills to kind of get everything done. And then the last one there is, where can you collaborate and develop? So yeah, part of really our role is about, as I said, collaborating with other people, bringing together a team so that we're as a team, a community, and developing people in their skills in the community management work. So we do a lot of training in our role as community managers. So training people in the tools that the community wants to use, and you know, training people in communication is often something we do as well. So developing their skills so they can also become community leaders as well in that space. I'm going to pause there and say, have I covered everything, Cass? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Just I won't give it to you now because everyone will have too much fun doing the quiz that we expertly made, Salma. But we made a collaborations workshop, a little quiz to help you kind of identify which of these
Oh,
spaces
yes.
are
That was
like
brilliant.
most connected to you. So then you'll see that play out in the activity as well.
Yeah. And as I said, like you don't have to be like, I think some people think you have to be this really sort of extrovert to be a community manager. I don't think that's actually true. I think you can, as I said, you can, and we often do work a little bit in the background. And actually, you can push other people forward to be the communicators, to be the leaders. So you don't have to necessarily have that very extrovert. I don't see myself actually as an extrovert at all. I'm much more introvert. I have to push myself to be out there and to give big talks and do big things and things like that. So, yes, the award-winning quiz. Yes. So I actually found the quiz difficult because I wanted to pick more multiple choice. So that may be the next
That's a problem with us,
development.
Emma. That's a mass
The
issue.
next development of it. Yeah. More intricate choices, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good. So yeah, so I've lost my train. Anyway, let's move on. I've lost my train of thought. So what we're going to do now, hopefully everyone has the Miro board, has access to it.
We've
Is
got a
anyone...
few people in there. We've got 4 people in there, so in theory it does work. I will share the link again. So yeah, jump in. And
So you
Emma,
need to...
maybe if you want to speak to the questions while people are joining, I'll watch people joining.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an alternative, if you don't get on with the Miro board or can't join it, you can actually open the slides. So find there's an Odoo link, open the slides, and you can see the activity in there, and you could write in the Framer pad actually. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if you're not getting into the Miro board, but just if you can get in, it's a bit easier to zoom around and kind of use it with the stickers and things. So in there we have got one frame in the Miro board, which is the oh yes, there we go. So we've got, oh, that's better, that one. So the one on the left-hand side here is the framework that I showed you with the different types of skill areas, and then some examples of the different sort of task skills that you need within those areas. And then our questions on the right-hand side are around what skills and resources do you have? So thinking about yourself, where would you place yourself? So using the little green stars that you can pick off the left board, and you can just place them around on those different areas. So what things do you think stick out to you? What things do you do quite routinely? Then the second question, what skills and resources does your community have? So where are we extending out our skills? So where are they covering the other skills in this kind of in this framework? And then the third one, who and what infrastructure from outside the project can be brought in to fill in any gaps there? Because the idea is that really we need all of these skills within a community. So who and what is going to fill up all of these skills? Is it yourself? Is it the members of your community? Is it outside the community going to bring in some skills to help you? And then 4, what upskilling or resource development is needed within your community? So really, is there, after you've done the questions 1 to 3, are there still some gaps there? How can you think about those? Where can you get those from maybe? Or is that like an upskilling thing that you'd like to do? So is there part of your skills that you'd like to upskill your community members in, actually, so that you can essentially give over a little bit of your work to somebody else in your community? And then 5, use the sticky notes below to record your observations. So after you've done that, have some reflections on what you've found out about yourself, about your community. And yeah, I think that's it.